Okay, hello. Welcome to today. We're going to talk about my story of uncovering deeply embedded dark forces in my energy field. And so I'm going to go through my story of childhood, how some of this started, right? Because it can be related to ancestral roots, ancestral portals. People call them generational curses. There's so much I've learned about this and breaking it all off. I'm going to talk about my childhood, how that connects to my kind of the middle of my career, I guess, at this point. So where I went out on my own, became an entrepreneur, became a DJ, grew my career, and all of the backlash and dark energies that broke me open to, right, what I was susceptible to in that world. And then also talk about the TV show that I did on HBO Max and how that affected my journey of understanding dark forces. Then next I went on to train as a Reiki master, and then I went on to train as a medium. And now I kind of am in this weird space where it's like, okay, I get it now. I'm more of a dark force expert than anything else. And it just also happens to be my passion. I love this stuff. I wrote a bunch of notes for myself, which is like funny, right? Because why would I need to write a whole page of notes on my own journey? But I've given so many workshops and so many webinars, taught a bunch of courses. I haven't exactly told my story from the perspective of dark forces and dark energies and how infiltration and penetration and then sometimes control can happen, and then how you think it's the ego, but it's really this species that I won't get into yet, but this very specific type of energy that has its own agenda that is actually controlling you when you are operating more in your ego. If you feel glued and rooted to your ego, and it's sometimes hard to ascend spiritually, mentally, to think thoughts that are out of the norm for you. It's sometimes hard to reprogram yourself. All of that can be symptoms of dark energies and dark forces preying on you. I don't want to instill fear, so I'm going to try not to use words like prey on you and attack, actually. So let me just reframe that. They court into you, right? They court into you, and you are giving them energy when they're courting into you. But oftentimes we make an agreement with these dark forces. It can be something as slight as our vibration that allows them to be able to court in and connect to us. It can be physical health things. I would go down a rabbit hole if I wanted to explain all of this. This is actually like a whole week, all the symptoms of the different types of dark forces and energies, and the gateways. I call them the gateways, the reasons that they have access to us in realm 3. As human beings, as God's children, how do they have access to us, right? Why would God allow that? All of these questions you have, I'm going to do that in a upcoming episode so that I can be a little bit more targeted here, because I just love this stuff and I could talk about it for hours. In fact, I do. Can't shut up about dark forces at a dinner. It's kind of awkward. On a date, it's kind of awkward. Someone told me I should actually put that on my, my Hinge profile or something. Also about mold, because I happen to be weirdly obsessed with talking about mold and parasites too. But you're going to see it's actually all related, because those are actually just the embodiments of literal demons living in your body. So I'm gonna let you noodle on that. We'll get there. Hopefully we'll have enough time for my whole journey, because that's coming at the end of it. I'll just tell you guys how old I am. I'm 38 now. So we're talking about a lifetime of energies that were building up in my field that, of course I had done a lot of development on myself. I would say I was always a positive person. And not that I was just born special, or that my childhood was easier than other people's. It's all relative, right? But I would say it had its own challenges. That said, looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, when I was on the UNICEF board and really seeing what it was like for people growing up in other countries, I'm like, my childhood was a walk in the park. And wow, it reframed everything instantly. And I was like, I'm no longer blaming my parents for anything that I'm holding on to that I think they did to me, because they did the most, whether it was tumultuous or rocky or emotionally abusive at times, whatever. I'm not using that in quotes to to minimize anybody who feels that way, but some of the things that I saw on the UNICEF board just were super eye-opening. Okay, I'm digressing. So, grew up pretty happy as a child. The good thing about that is that I knew that I had a high level of mental fortitude. I was just like this little subconscious reprogramming expert out of the womb somehow. And that has been the basis of the Manifest Mindset, my core business, the last 5 years. So kind of makes sense. But you know, they say like the glass half full, the glass half empty. Like I just knew how to do that. The law of balance, right? That's what we're really using from a spiritual perspective when we are seeing all sides of things. And I just happened to be really good at that, to the extent that like I was 12 and my mom would confide in me about everything happening in the divorce, because obviously she was very stressed, very busy, 2 young kids, brain doctor. Can't imagine what it would be like juggling all of that plus a divorce when there was so much heated emotion and all of that jazz. But she used to confide in me because I was a good confidant. I was able to see both sides of the situations and kind of be like Switzerland. And when you can be like Switzerland for other people, you can eventually apply that to your own mind, right? And then when your ego or these dark forces and energies that are infiltrating you, because guess what, guys? They hijack your thoughts. They can hijack up to 97% of your thoughts if you have a lot of attachments, okay? And I've handled possessions before. I have seen some pretty insane situations where I know the human was having very little organic thoughts. So that being said, that's not common though, that they would have 97% of your mind, but they could have a lot of it. And so the reason I say that is because half of my family used medication, like pharmaceuticals, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicine. And once again, no judgment on that. And I've worked with people who felt they needed that even as well. But oftentimes after doing this work and clearing all of this energy and reprogramming the mind, they go off of it by their own choice. But the point is, I was on the other end of the family that didn't feel that I need pharmakia, right? Pharmaceuticals. What's interesting is that the word pharmakia is a Greek word, and the roots of pharmakia actually help to build the term sorcery in our language, in the English language, and it also built the term pharmacy. So just food for thought there. Going to throw that out there since I am seeing that as something that's relevant to share here. So I knew that I was pretty strong mentally. I always had very strong beliefs. I was rooted to what I thought was right. I had like somewhat of a sense of morality growing up, not perfect by any means, but didn't drink and have sex as early as some of my friends. Not saying I waited till the last minute or anything like that, but I did go to church. We were Catholic growing up, and some of that really stuck with me. Some of the commandments, the morals. I had to go to Paris School of Religion on Sundays. If anybody did that, you can even see my cross I'm wearing now. This was given to me by my godfather, Vince, who's one of my guides now. On my was it communion? Confirmation, right? I was in 8th grade. So I say all that just to showcase, like, grew up pretty happy, not super affected by anything dark force, although some people can come out of the womb and be affected by dark forces. Part of my journey was to know what it's like to have a healthy mental state, and then to know what it's like when something's wrong, right? So that's why I'm in this work and able to see things clearly for the people that I support. But after, church and all of that, I will say this, the Catholic Church, and you can do your own research on this, with anything I'm going to say, please use your own intuition. If you don't have a strong connection to intuition, hey, I'd love to help you with that. It could be that there's a lot of inorganic energy in your field. There could be technology and AI stuck in your chakras. There's so much that I could help you look at to clean, clear, and charge, restore, and repair your intuition, and just tools that I can teach you to connect to that God channel immediately, to your higher self channel as well, right? There's different planes of connection that you can go to, and I teach all about that. But main points, Catholic Church, pretty demonic. you don't know that when you were a child, when you were going there. These are just the people that you listen to. But once again, you need to be careful whose energy you're letting into your field, because if they have attachments, then you are susceptible to that too. So I would liken that example of, being a child or just being somebody who's in church, not connecting to their own channel of intuition and absorbing everything and believing everything and hearing everything as truth without asking God, is this always true? 100% of the time, is this the right way for me to behave? But was this right for me to believe? Is that sometimes there can be this dark force infiltration where we're given information that is painted like it's something that can better us, but then it ends up biting us in the butt, right? So kind of like how there are a lot of healers, leaders, I'm not going to say names because this is a public recording, but there are some big ones that you guys would know that are actually either infiltrated by these dark energies and dark forces, or they are actually fully controlled. There are scenarios in which some of these dark forces can take on a human suit, a meat suit, and they are actually operating like a human. So there are different ways in which this can manifest, and I've seen it all, unfortunately, or fortunately, right? Because knowledge is power. But digressing a little too. Wow, I knew this was gonna be a hard one because I'm like, my story is so complex. So happy child, Catholic Church, all that jazz, not super aware of what's going on, taking some good things out of it, but also taking a lot of the shame, the fear, the guilt. All of this is a very low frequency, by the way, that dark forces poured into. I was mirroring and patterning my mother, who also took on a lot of this Catholic guilt, right? Or if you're Jewish, maybe you know about the Jewish guilt, and your mother gave it to you, and you accepted it, right? You accepted it as yours, and then it becomes a part of your energy body as well. We can't blame them, right? But it's a good learning experience for us. So that's kind of like childhood. The next big thing I would say for me on my experience with dark forces and dark energies and just being penetrated, like my own natural protection, being susceptible and vulnerable, was went to Emory University in Atlanta, and then after Emory, everybody was like going to New York. It was a bunch of New York City kids, or at least the friend group that I ran with was, and I always looked up to them, right? I grew up in St. Louis, the Midwest. Most people don't know that about me, but maybe that's a little bit of the values too, right? I guess people always say I'm nicer than other people, but I'm just like, I don't know, doesn't it feel good to be nice, right? But maybe that is a Midwestern thing, because in St. Louis, everywhere you go, everybody is very nice to you. I will say that. So in New York, I get there after graduation. It was like a bad market. It was 2009 when I graduated and was looking for a job. Like, I remember our valedictorian didn't even have a job. Get up to New York City. I start working for an alumni that started a franchise essentially of an internet marketing company that was run by another alumni on the West Coast. And it was successful already. They were building the second office, and I was the number 2 employee on the ground floor with everybody. And it was an exciting moment. Did that, worked my way up in marketing for about 5 years. At the same time, I was learning to DJ. I felt like this was my purpose at the time. I was starting the beginning stages of what I would call a spiritual awakening, in quotes, right? Because, it's such a big thing, and there are thousands of levels of that, right? This dark force and dark energy stuff is like a way different level. But started to really sync up with that. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to share my gifts in a different way. I knew I had more creativity inside of me. Marketing is creative, right? Thinking in general is actually one of the highest forms of creativity. I always tell people that in sessions when my clients are like, I don't get to be creative enough in my job. I'm like, actually, here are 10 ways that's false. Let's reprogram this. So anyway, I decide I'm going to be a DJ, and that was just a part of my journey. It was a very successful career path for me, so I know it was right, and it is all connected to what I am doing now, which is like my super, super, super soul match divine purpose, right? So there's levels of purpose. Like, part of that exercise was allowing me to step out on my own, allowing me to bet on myself. It was a great exercise in, right? Imagine telling your 2 brain doctor parents that you want to be a DJ. What do you think they're going to say to you, right? So it was a good exercise in me just jumping off the deep end and once again, rooting to my beliefs, rooting to my values, rooting to my higher self, the truth of who I am, and moving through a portal of fear, right? Being like, no, I'm scared, but this is the way. It's actually pointing me in the direction of my soul's evolution, the best path for me. And so it's all connected. But the reason the entertainment career is so connected to dark forces and dark energies is a lot of things. The space in general, and you've probably, if you're into this world already, you've heard people say this about Hollywood, that Hollywood is polluted and run by people that are controlled or infiltrated by dark forces. You might have heard people say that's about the media. You might have heard somebody say that's about politics, or you might just already be able to feel that, right? During the super intense election we just had, right? Everybody's energy was feeling a little off. So that can be a big clue for you there. But entertainment is notorious for bad actors, right? I'm not talking about like actors in the like on camera sense, although that's a whole different podcast on the things that the tools that they use, some of the witchcraft and the magic that is common to get fame and success. So different topic, but is related. What I mean is like that same thing is done on a lower level in entertainment. I was in the music side of the business. If you are Taylor Swift, right? Like she's admitted to using rituals and things on stage. You can see them if you watch her videos. You can see them in Pink videos. Go look at this. Look at this for yourself. You don't need to take my word for it, like I said. But what I'm really saying is that there's just a very strong theme of self-interest in the entertainment space in general. Very strong ego from like everyone that you'll be working with, and it creates this kind of like group mind virus. For me, I'm sensitive. Like well, this is also science, right? We tend to, our energy will actually start to match the strongest vibration in the room. This has been studied by the Heart Math Institute. And so this will also happen if it's a good energy and a high vibration, or a low energy and a lower frequency, or a state of being in the ego, right? We'll start to mirror and match the people that we spend time around. And so in entertainment, I grew more susceptible for a lot of reasons to dark forces, partially who I was surrounding myself with, the attitudes that I was choosing, right? I'm not going to blame anybody, but that I was choosing to believe in and choosing to take on for myself. It is a heavy culture of drinking. It is a heavy culture of partying. It is a heavy culture of promiscuity. Sex is, I literally call it ST demons, sexually transmitted demons, because sex is the fastest way to get other people's junk to cord into you, okay? Their entities, their attachments, these energies that we're talking about here. On a very general scale. I'm not going to talk about specifics, and probably never on a public platform. I'm pretty sure that we are just gating that stuff in my courses, because yeah, that's information that if you want to have, that I want to share with people who are super excited about it and want to be warriors of the light and not work against us on this journey of helping to make the world the best place that it can be. Yeah, quick sidebar, since we're on that topic, I did just finish level 1 of my Dark Forces course and community. It's called Priestesses of Protection. So exciting. It was such a great moment of reflection yesterday when everybody was sharing like their unexpected benefits, just like loving the community, getting more business, right? Like they didn't sign up for it with the intention of it being a cash explosion for them or a money breakthrough, and then it was because they just had so many blockages that they ended up clearing. It was less about reprogramming. They'd already worked a lot on their money mindset, and more about clearing these things that were in their energy field, that were inorganic, right? They were not their own. It was not connected to their divine energy. It was not how God had created their life to be. People getting so rooted to their purpose that they've got new revenue streams coming in, and they're loving that work even more than the other work that they're doing. And just this general sense of like self-love, that love for each other in this group, and love of the self that you feel when your energy body is sovereign. So anyway, just throwing that out there. we're thinking about starting another level 1. So if that's calling you and this story is interesting you, I would love for you to just leave a comment or shoot me a DM on Instagram. It's just at Nicole Rose Stillings, NicoleRosestillings, same as the YouTube handle. So back to my story. It's like funny, I did like a little ad insert there, just unintentionally, but felt relevant, felt cute. Okay, entertainment world. I am responsible, right? This is the dark force work. Like if you want to get into this and have success with it, you've got to take radical responsibility. I'm responsible for allowing these attitudes, for working with people that God told me, some of these people. And like back then I didn't have the intuitive tools that I have now to really know, is this the voice of God that I'm hearing? Is this direct guidance, or is this my ego, or is this demonic? Wow, right? Like they speak to us too. So I didn't have any of that, but I did have a bad feeling in my stomach about a deal that I did with a group of people who I will not name, but that ended up with a podcast on Spotify. And that felt really off to me. I felt increasingly anxious after I signed that contract. I went into that deal, and like basically couldn't live with myself in it and had to cancel. And even though it was a lot of money every single month, just coming in like clockwork for something I wanted to do anyway, I could not move forward. So once again, that is the voice of God. That is your sign. If you're feeling this extreme discomfort, like the opposite of peace, right? When we are in alignment, we are supposed to feel peace. So when we're moving on our path, we're supposed to feel that just calmness, that sense of purpose and peace within. That was one situation. And then there was another time where I did a partnership. I became the music director of a couple of companies. This DJing business grew really big. I was making about $300,000 a year the last couple of years in the business. I became the music director of Guild Group, of Whispering Angel, I did like side projects for lots of companies, but I would curate playlists and whatnot. But I also performed at Coachella, at side parties for Coachella, like with Lucky Brands, Super Bowl, and did all the activations for Visa there. I did, the food and beverage show, the food and wine show in many cities, but Aspen was super, super fun, and Nantucket. I would do the boat show in Florida. I played in Ibiza. I had residencies in New York City at Lavo and Provocateur, and just these big clubs, right, that people knew. So I was really out in the mix for many, many, many years, kind of living a rough lifestyle by the end of it, because when you're on the outside, the party looks cool and you want to be on the inside. But once you get in on the inside and you have to show up everywhere and you have to be friends with all these people and pretend like you like everybody and talk to everybody and be dressed up all the time and always be on, like you can't take a night off when you're traveling and playing and traveling and playing to, hit these higher revenue numbers. It's not glamorous anymore. Like getting on a flight to go to another event is not cool anymore. Like Fashion Week, first year, so exciting. I did Women's Wear Daily. I remember being in Vogue my first time. It was incredible. Second time, third time, you're like, why am I still doing this, right? So if it's feeling more and more out of alignment, right? I should say that. For some people, that's what they came for. Like their goal might have been fame. And for me, I didn't understand at the time that my goal was not fame. That's an ego construct of what my higher self wanted, which was actually to be known for helping people. Now, if you think about that, those are two very different things, right? So that desire did drive me for a while, though. I burned myself out. I drank too much, partied too much to keep myself there in the space, not as a zombie, right? So that I could provide the entertainment that I was paid for. And it was just like a cycle of burnout and exhaustion, and it let in tons of dark forces and dark energies. Being around the people who were also infiltrated, not great, right? So can't blame them because it's law of attraction. So we can only attract and feel energies that we have active within us. So it was just making things harder for me to clear my own fields out, working out 5 days a week, all of that, yoga, not enough, right? So that's entertainment in a nutshell for me. I did do a TV show after that. That was a big explosion in my brain. Like something's not right here. Once again, I didn't have the language that I have now. I didn't know about all these different types of dark forces. I didn't know Hollywood was dark. Like maybe to you that's just like a duh, but I didn't like idolize everybody. I wasn't super into it, but I just didn't know that there's a lot of witchcraft, a lot of black magic, that everybody's so run by their ego. It's such a service to self path, right? This is law of one, terms of service to self or service to others, right? Like basically the book tells you that the world is split into two and like humans choose their path. And sometimes you wait for a while between the two, testing them out, seeing where you want to be. Kind of like me, right? That's kind of the journey I'm explaining to you right now. And so the TV show, I did a show called The Big Shots on HBO Max with Bethany Frankel. And like, I was so excited. I obviously was a bit naive or I wouldn't have done it. But sometimes that naivete is a good thing because it was certainly on the path for me because of everything I learned. So I'm thinking this is going to be great. Producers are stalking me down on Instagram. We already had a following and whatnot there from traveling the world and DJing for, at this point it had been, I had been full-time in DJing for like 5, 6, 7 years, 6? 7, they're telling, I'm just listening, 7 years. But I was playing before that for friends, for private parties. I was working in marketing and playing at nights for at least 6 months. I was doing both regularly. So my journey started way before that. But the TV show was in my early 30s and they found me on Instagram. The producers loved me for whatever reason. They told me I was a mini Bethany. I was flattered weirdly. Now I can see both sides of that where I didn't watch her shows that much. So I was just thinking she's a business boss, which she is. Just to be super clear, she is very smart and good at making money. I'm not going to call that success because we can define that really, really differently, right? And I know her on a personal level from spending 3 months working for her and filming this show. But she is very smart. She is very intuitive as well. And I did learn from her, from being there on The Big Shots. But I'm thinking this is going to be great. It's going to be fun, and they're pumping me up. They're feeding my ego. And at that point, I wasn't as aware of what actually happens, right? So they convinced me to do the show. They're telling everybody, it was I guess other people had actually applied and not been sought after or whatever the case is. They said there were 3,000 applicants for 13 spots and it was harder to get into than Harvard. And they made it this whole big thing and psych evals and all the stuff. It was kind of a several month runway before you got your official contract and invitation. I go to the show. I'm so excited. I show up I've been shopping. I show up. I'm so excited. Check into the hotel. We're literally living there for a couple of months in Soho, New York. And this is during the pandemic, by the way, guys, 2020. And it's just like a shit show. I got there, checked in, and the minute they got me in that black SUV, whatever it was, that Suburban, to drive out to Connecticut, where one of her home bases is, I could just feel the energy starting to shift. And after one day on set, I was like, what did I sign up for? They took your phone, they took your laptop, they take everything. I'm probably not even supposed to tell this story on this deep of a level because some of this I signed an NDA about. However, I think it also might be, we might be out of the window, the time frame of that contract at this point. And also, what are they really going to do to me? So all good. But I'm just feeling something really off there. They take all of your technology because it was a competition show. It was the remake of The Apprentice, right? There was the old one with Trump. This was Bethany Frankel. People were vying for a job to become her VP of operations. And I was never planning to work for her. Obviously, I had time off during the pandemic because events were shut down. And I just thought my intuition guided me to do it. And I thought that I would use it to build my own brands. And it just didn't know I was going to use it to become a coach and build this type of brand. Had no clue. Obviously, higher self knew, and that was the plan, right? There's always a plan. Human has very, very little vision, a couple percent into this whole grand scheme of things that God, higher self, all of your angels and guides are in on. Anyway, thank God I listened, right? It was eye-opening. I knew that dark stuff was happening. It was so intense. Like every day that we weren't filming, I basically had to meditate for hours a day because that was like my main tool back then, right? This is like, we're talking 5 years ago. And now I know how to do energy work in like 3 minutes. That would blow people's minds. But back then I was like, I'm just going to lay here and do breath work and Ho'oponopono and holotropic breath work. Like I would put myself almost in a psychedelic state and talk to my guides. Like that was, I had to get really deep to connect at that point because I didn't just know how to turn on intuition and receive guidance in the spot and call in my guides and have them do things and answer things. It was, it was a much slower process, but I'm like needed to push all of the dark energy out, but didn't know what was going on. So, that was just eye-opening. Like there were even scenes where I felt so emotionally uncomfortable. I don't want to use the word, I guess there was a scene or two where I got triggered. Like they would try to get everybody riled up. That's the point of reality TV. They want you to look crazy because it makes good TV. And I was coming on the show to represent the woman that I was becoming so that my future self could use that with her new brand, whatever that would be. I knew that much of it. So I didn't want to act crazy or act out of character for who I was even at that point. So I remember scenes where I would have to go to the bathroom, lock the doors, producers are banging on the doors, and I'm just reading what I now teach. The technology is called the Wealth Tuner, but I'm reading like the earliest versions of it on my phone, just trying to reprogram myself and connect to this higher version of myself, to her values, her morals, her operating code, right? Her ways of being, so that I can walk back out there, even if Bethany is in my face, screaming profanities at me and just be like, yes, okay. Good, we're Gucci. So it was hard AF, okay? This was challenging. And by the way, while all this is happening, I am doing like photo shoots for multiple different brand products with plus size models and like selling all different types of things and putting this all together from hiring people to executing it in one day. Okay, so insane projects that even as a successful entrepreneur and the owner of a business that has made, over $1 million at that point, it was intense. It was literally hard just to do the work because it was a competition show and not like Love Island or something where like the competition is looking good in your bikini. Like, no shade. That probably would have been a much more fun experience. This was so intense because there was so much happening. Like physically, filming is very draining. You are up at it is black when they get you up. You've got to do hair and makeup. Either you're doing it or you have help. It was COVID, so sometimes we didn't have as much support and that felt chaotic. But they were trying to keep everybody safe. I get it. But now that I know about what I know about COVID, I'd be like, just give me the makeup artist. What the F? Anyway, I digress. So it's physically taxing, it's mentally taxing because you're like, what in the hell is going on? Why is there so much? It's engineered drama. That's what reality TV is. So I thought we were going to just have fun and be ourselves. No, the producers had archetypes, characters they wanted us all to be, and they are feeding and seeding these ideas to other cast members to create this storyline that they've already crafted. So is it really reality TV then? I don't know. I'm gonna let you noodle on that yourself. So then on a spiritual plane, there is witchcraft and magic that happens during these shows to make them successful. And you can believe me or not believe me. You can research this if you want. You can ask God and your higher self about this if you want confirmation. So on the physical, the mental, and the spiritual plane, there is just like warfare on all fronts. Like that's the best way to put it. And it was so intense that after filming for those couple of months, I had to take 3 months doing nothing, okay? There were points during it, I remember even trying to quit. They let me have my phone for like an hour. I called my therapist and my best friend. I don't have a therapist anymore, but back then, that was the tool that was supportive to me on my journey. And I was just like, I don't think I can do it. And they gave me a fucking pep talk and I went in and I used my tools. And now I actually sell those tools because those tools really got put to the test in that show, the wealth tuning process. Like it just works. It works all the time and it helps you connect to your higher self and become this wealthy, powerful creator that you were actually born to be. That's your divine right as a child of the Most High, of God, right? So anyway, leave filming. I take a break, hide out in Florida for 3 months, and just totally relax, try to detox my body, minds, and my energy fields. Like, I knew that much, and I got the hints, start learning Reiki. Okay, cool. I don't know why. I find a Reiki master locally. Now we're good friends. I start learning Reiki. I'm now a Reiki master. It's been 5.5 years since that training. So that's just like the short notes of the journey, right? But it was a long accumulation of dark forces in my field, with that TV show experience being so intense that I didn't know how to recover. It was frightening. Walking, taking long walks in nature, meditating, breath work, therapy, yoga, running, right? We're intense cardio workouts. Like, the things that worked for me no longer worked. Like, my field was saturated. Okay. Like, there is so much that's my energy field was holding everything in instead of transmuting and processing it and releasing it. And once again, law of attraction, when you've got so much dark energy and attachments in your field, then you attract people and situations with more of them. Really fun experience, right? Maybe you have had this experience, because I see this with a lot of clients, and then priestesses, right, that are in my level 1 priestesses of protection group that just graduated. Level 2 starting next week. So cool. I was like in yoga this morning getting downloads on the exact instructions for what I'm teaching on next Wednesday. Love how easy that is. Okay. Where are we going there? That's funny. Tools aren't working. I'm learning Reiki. Feels like it's working. There's so much. I was just saying that the clients sometimes have, when they've got a lot of dark energy in their field and they're trying to do all the things, grow their career, make more money, and date and have a baby and all these things at the same time. I'm not going to say the word impossible, because nothing is impossible, right? But it's not beneficial for you, because you are going to be attracting more people, even clients, partners, whatever, with all these dark forces because of law of attraction. So you do want to clear this energy out first, get to a pure, balanced emotional state, physical state, mental state, energetic state, and then attract partners, right? And business partners, investors, your life partner, your soulmate, whatever it is, from this more pure, doesn't have to be perfect, but this more pure energy body that is the way our Creator created us. Just throw that thought feels like it is for somebody specific, right? So if that was for you, drop a comment in the chats or DM me. I love to chat with everybody, guys. I answer those DMs. So tell me, because I like to know what resonates, because then maybe that's a thread for a whole episode, right? Really just, this is a super high level intro, because now that I am teaching on this so much, almost all of my one-on-one sessions are dark force clearings and demon clearings right now. It's wild. I don't know when that shifted, but that just seems to be what everybody's booking, even if I talk about other things. So we're just leaning in. We're going where God wants us to go. Thank you for listening and being here with me and allowing me to go here. I just appreciate all of you for being with me on the journey, whether I know you or don't know you. Just even the fact that you were conscious enough, curious enough to press play on this. Oh my God, I'm gonna get emotional. That spirit coming through. Like, thank you. Thank you. This is another just quick commercial break from the story, and then I swear I'm going to wrap this up soon. But thank you, for your soul that is so curious, that knows there's more to the story, that is growing in awareness and consciousness and truly wants to help the world. This is a pivotal time for Earth. I'm going to do an episode more on why that is in the history of Earth soon. So that's coming. Stay tuned. Follow, subscribe if these are topics you want more of, or just tell me if that's a yes for you, if it's a F yes for you, so I can bump that up my list, my episode list of things to record. Wow. Okay. Sometimes I just that's when I know something is divine, when I can feel it so strongly, like pumping through my whole body, the vibration, the emotion of it. Yeah, those are all signs that that's the universe, God, spirit really just moving through me, sharing that message. So here's The good news, Reiki helps me alchemize some of that energy. And after a couple months of literally like long walks, therapy, like twice a week, Reiki with training levels 1, 2, I eventually became a master, but self-practice, 30, sometimes an hour, sometimes 2 hours a day, guys, like meditation and breath work. I'm talking several hours. Like I was doing 5 to 6 hours of energy work a day, then just reading books and just watching like low key shows. Okay. Like eating healthy, going to the gym, like having smoothies and fiber, doing a juice cleanse. Like I was doing all the things, like not drinking, right? Just really detoxing my body. Like so much, and my mind went into a cocoon of healing. And it took 3 months to just kind of feel like normal again. And that's, once again, a big clue that there's some real freaking crazy things going on in the film and TV space. So I'm getting better. But then the thing that you don't learn in Reiki is that you are raising in consciousness, you are opening up your field. And when we raise in consciousness, we naturally become a magnet for these dark forces, for these darker energies, because we are food. We are now higher quality food if we've got more intuition and a stronger consciousness, a higher level of consciousness. So they're more motivated to court into us. I don't find that clients, and oftentimes those people aren't even drawn to the work that I do because it is so extremely high level and specific now with everything that I know and everything that I've been through. But someone who is like a 187 frequency, which is like majority of the world right now, they are going to have very few entity attachments compared to someone who is a 350, 400, 500. Forget about it. You've got to know what I am teaching or somebody else is teaching on your energetic protection, like on a much deeper level than Reiki, because Reiki does not talk to you about how to fully shield yourself, how to seal off your shield, your field after you have opened it up, how to close off to certain type of energies that I don't want to say they're connected to the practice of Reiki, but they're hip to it. They know what's going on and they know who to target because they know you're going to be good food for them. They don't teach you how to clear this stuff, how to see it, how to even know that it's there. Like they don't talk about the symptoms. It's just a system of energy healing. And does it work? Yes. Is it basic? Yes. Okay. So that's what I would say on my Reiki journey was that it was great for like a year. But then after that, I'm like, I should feel better because I've raised in consciousness, not worse. Damn, what's going on again? I'm going to have to figure out this next piece of the puzzle, right? Like that's my journey basically, is just like figuring out this next piece of the puzzle, next piece of the puzzle, next piece of the puzzle, because once again, I knew that I am a naturally happy person. I knew from a young child that even with my parents being a little cray-cray, why did 2 brain doctors go to study the brain? They're trying to figure themselves out, you guys, right? Like it's not that they are stable and sane, okay? So I love my parents, but I just want to paint the picture of what it was like growing up in my household. People were throwing wine bottles at each other in arguments. Like there were moments where it was freaking intense. Dad cheated on mom. We caught them in the act, like crazy stuff, divorced at a young age, super toxic. Like it was a little wild, right? But I knew I was happy. So even at this point, after the TV show, after the Reiki trainings, I'm better, but not 100%. I'm not like turning to medicine, to pharmakia, to the pharmacy, because I'm like, once again, it is a form of sorcery. That doesn't mean I have never taken in a leave. I now know how to energetically detox cramps. It's fear-based. It's a fear-based vibration. I can help you if you want help with that. That is something that I do teach, but I'm digressing. So that being said, I'm knowing I'm solid mentally, so I'm knowing that I'm being infiltrated. I'm like, something's off. And I've raised in consciousness. At the time, I'm still learning about all these darker energies and why I would be a target, right? Why would I be a target? I have good intentions for the world. I want to help people. Why would I be a target? Well, let me tell you something. If that's how you feel, that right there is exactly what makes you a target. Wow. Light bulbs, right? So At the same time, I'm going through this mold healing journey. I had mold in my last New York City place. There was mold in a couple places I rented in between. And then there was mold in my Miami place. Didn't look like it. $80 million reno 5 years ago. You're thinking like they look behind the walls, right? But let me tell you something. Apparently that is not common in my experience and the experience of my clients that have had mold. So I'm also on a mold healing journey. I got a bad parasite infection later, but this is all connected because parasites are literal demons in your body. Mold is a very low frequency in your space, and it opens energetic portals that can be used by dark forces because they are lower frequency portals. This is not a portal to cross over souls. This is not a God portal, okay? These are different channels, and they are not ones that you want. I've been asked this question, so that's why I'm hammering it. These are not portals that you want open in your home, in your office, in your car, or in your energetic body, or in your business, right? If you're a business owner, they open there too. That's one thing that I think has been so impactful from the level 1 of priestesses of protection, which I found on my journey that my own mentors never really talked about, is that you have to clear not only the human self. If you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business, these entities and energies are able to attach to the business. So, and then they'll go and hide there. So you'll be clearing yourself and the business won't be clear. So it's a whole thing that I had to go on once again, another one of those tangents to kind of figure out how to keep my business operating at a 500, 600, 700 frequency. That's my goal for it. And I tune it and charge it to that every morning so that it just feels like a joy to be around me, to listen to this, to work with me, whatever your experience is with me. Because that's just what I want, right? That's what will call more people into this work, this way of thinking, of being, of doing things. So I'm on this journey. I decide because of the mold problem, I'm like feeling not safe in the world, right? That is one of the experiences you have. It's also a belief that can attract mold, right? This is a whole different episode, so I don't want to go down this tangent, but mold, parasites, all of these things are reflections. Sometimes they can be soul contract. This was part of my soul journey to know these things because I am meant to be a dark force master. So you've got to go through all of it. You don't have a choice. If you want to be able to help a large number of people, you've got to experience it. That's why we're here talking about my journey, so that hopefully it makes a little sense for you. And I'm sure something is one of these things, maybe more of these things are things that you can relate to. But I'm like, all right, I start training my intuition even more. I study under 5 different masters, guys. I am like hungry. I'm like, that was good, there's more. That was good, there's more. That was good, there's more. It didn't all really click. It didn't all really make sense. There's got to be an easier way of doing it. Like there was one. So I started to become a medium. I trained with the Los Angeles School of Spiritual Arts. Girls talented, but it was all about like connecting through the heart space. I was having all these cords to all these people I had read. They do actually put you through a process for several months where a higher trained medium, an advanced medium, listens to you while you cold read people. I was training to become an expert in life purpose, but I also did ancestor readings just because I wanted both skills. I love purpose though, right? But I do love talking to guides too. Although God knows best. So I will just say that was one big thing, one big lesson that I learned out of that experience. There is a time and place for everything, and God has the best overview, the best foresights and advice for your whole life. So I am training hardcore to become good at this. They grade you, like you don't get certified and essentially pass the school and graduate if you are not passing all of these individual weekly long, hour long calls and you are not above 90% accuracy. They give you feedback and notes. So I pass in 6 months. I'm done with that training. And I'm using it now successfully. This is why I've helped people with mold, because I can now use intuition at a very high level to understand mold, understand how it's affecting the body, to build a supplement routine to detox it, to know what workouts are going to be X% effective for you, to test hotels, to test. I rented my place sight unseen because I was able to test for mold without even going into the unit, right? So of course you could smell it or see it, but I was able to really lean on and build that skill of the intuition, or trust my intuition rather, because I had built the skill of intuition over the last several years. This is like 5 years of training intuition. Once again, I'm courting into all these people. When I'm cold reading them, I'm connecting to things that are connected to them, not knowing it. I'm opening my field even more because I'm now connected to everybody's ancestors. Like, I'm just being this like massive broken open field that is just like an open doorway for all different types of energies. And then I've got some of my own shit going on. So I'm got the door open and I'm magnetizing them. Get it? Law of attraction. So just insane experience. And so many people don't realize this is what's happening. So if you are somebody that has trained in become a yoga master, become an intuition master or trainer, trained in intuition programs under people who didn't know this was happening, but their stuff's now corded into you. You did cold medium reads with strangers like I did for 6 months and corded into all of these lower frequencies and all of that. Like, God help you, allow me to help you, or ask, I'm not going to call it a him. You get what I'm saying. It's an energy, but him to help you. Long story short, I was not okay after doing all of these things. I did not feel like myself. I felt like I lost parts of my memory. Intuition's telling me you have recovered from mold, so then I can't blame it on anything external, right? That is the human pattern. We love to play the blame game because everybody plays the blame game. We're taught the blame game. It's literally programmed into us from childhood, right? But I'm now been studying this stuff for 5 years at this point. I can't blame it on that. So I'm just like, I knew there was more. And that's really why I started training under a dark force master who is now my mentor and is incredible. And I've been doing this work and doing thousands of hours of clearings on myself, on my clients. I had many clients at the time because I was coaching and doing, CEO coaching, wealth tuning for people, helping with manifestations, but from a spiritual perspective, right? Not from the ego perspective, just to be clear, because I got that lesson very clearly in my DJ career, that that's not the path I want to be promoting for myself or for my clients, because it won't help lead them to happiness and greatness and long-term prosperity or purpose. But anyway, now that I know what I know, I just want to say, if you feel off and you know that there's something external affecting you, you're probably right. And these are inorganic, external energies that come into our field for a lot of different reasons that I talked about in this episode in a roundabout way. I will do a more succinct episode on that soon, so stay tuned. I'm committing to showing up here every single week on Thursdays, so check back. But you're not alone. These technologies, learning the clearing protocols for these dark force energies will change your life if this is you. I would love to talk to you more about it. You're more than welcome to DM me. I do not have a level 1 training open right now, but if there is enough interest, then we will be opening that up again too. But I'm teaching level 2 starting again on Wednesday. And so that's my primary focus right now, is taking this first group to a way higher plane, to a further level, teaching a whole new set of dark forces and energies that come once you've raised in consciousness even more, once you've built even more spiritual power, essentially. And so I think that's really where I want to just leave this. This has been really long. I hope this is interesting for you guys. Thank you for your time, your energy, your love. It is felt. I can literally feel it. I'm receiving it right now. And yeah, like I said, I would just love to hear from you. I would love to get to know you. I had a podcast before, and we're just going to use YouTube from now on. So I may post this there just to let everybody know that we are just using YouTube for this longer form content right now, trying to streamline everything and make my life and the beautiful souls who work with me, their lives easier too. So thank you. If you have felt really affected and you know that medicine isn't the path for you, or that it's not doing the thing you needed to do, or whatever the experience is, or that you've gone through a lot of these trainings too. You've been a shaman, you've been helping people, and you've been opening up your field, and the people you've been guiding and journeying with, their stuff has seen you and courted into you, and you're creating such a massive portal, and you no longer feel as good or as connected to your authentic self, the truth of who you are. It's harder to access the voice of God or your intuition. This can help you. There's nothing wrong with you. This is all figure outable. It took me the lifetime up until now to fully figure this out, to really organize my teachings, to create all of my energy protocols and all of the technology that I teach to clear these dark forces, to be able to train all of the different clairs, to see it, to feel dark force technology, to know what's in somebody's field intuitively, to hear from all different types of guides that this is what's going on. You can use all the clairs if you are training all of them, to have more clarity on what's really happening with your energy. And if you want to know more about why these things are here, how they get here, their agenda, I would love to share that. So once again, if any of these episodes sound interesting to you, DM me and let me know. And I do offer clearings for these dark force energies, and you can get that on my Instagram. It's linked in my bio for you. Probably YouTube too. All right. Love you so much. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and just bless you. I'm just going to ask now that God come down, come through my heart space into this screen, and that you are feeling it no matter when you are listening. We are programming this recording with the intention so that you immediately feel purpose, joy, love, peace, acknowledgement, and prosperity just from hearing this video. That is my prayer and my wish for you. Love you.